Many of you probably remember the rock band Styx. A rock critic once rated some of their songs, and he said their sixth greatest song, I mean that's pretty interesting, your sixth greatest song, but their sixth greatest song was Too Much Time on My Hands. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3, that might kind of be the theme of what Solomon is talking about in the first 13 or so verses, because he talks extensively about time and his concerns and worries about time. But then he comes to a conclusion based on that in verse 14. In fact, we read in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 14, I perceive, Solomon is learning something now, I perceive that whatever God does endures forever. In other words, it's beyond time. I perceive that whatever God does endures forever. Nothing can be added to it, nor anything taken from it. God has done it so that people will fear before him. As you think about what he says there, it's not some kind of assignment to mankind that this is the way it's going to be and you have no choice about it, and therefore you're going to be miserable the rest of your existence in this time that I've given you. No, instead of that kind of attitude, Solomon is beginning to progress to an attitude to where he is developing a healthy respect for God. He says God has done this so that people may revere him, may fear him. Originally, when he thought about time just from the standpoint of it's all about me, yes, he was very discouraged. But now he says, God has done all of this, and it's all about God. There was a man in England many years ago who was diagnosed with a terminal disease. His name was William Sangster, and he decided with the time that he had left, he would do four things. He said, number one, I will not complain. Number two, I will be a light, a bright light in my home and to my family. Number three, I will try to do everything that I can to turn this into a glorification of God. And number four, he said, I will count my blessings. Isn't that a remarkable attitude of someone who has a terminal disease to have? Isn't that something that Solomon is trying to teach us here, that while we may worry and fret about time from the standpoint of when it's all about me, when we realize that God is in control, and that we need to put our faith in God, it changes everything. He goes on to say in verse 15, that which is already has been, that which is to be already has been, and God seeks what has been driven away. The last part of that verse, in some translations says that God will call the past into account. It literally means that God seeks what hurries along. The idea seems to be what Solomon is teaching us, what the Holy Spirit is teaching us here, is that you and I lose track of time, even if we know our days are numbered, and they are, by the way, but we lose track of time. Yet God keeps track of all of it. And so to him, we owe our time and, yes, our eternity.